Imagine spending $35 million on a revolutionary car, only for your own company to say, no thanks. That's what happened with Ford's groundbreaking front-wheel drive project in the 60s. America abandoned it, but Germany took that same car and turned it into a legend, selling over 672,000 units. This is the story of the Ford Cardinal, forgotten by the US, saved by Germany. Let's rewind to the late 1950s, when the American car scene was all about bigger, flashier rides dripping with chrome. Meanwhile, across the ocean, a little German car called the Volkswagen Beetle was quietly winning over American drivers. Ford executives watched nervously as their sales started slipping, one Beetle at a time. By 1957, Ford was in trouble. Imported cars were booming, and buyers, especially women, wanted smaller, fuel-efficient cars. The gas-guzzling giants Detroit loved suddenly seemed outdated. Ford needed a fast answer. Enter Robert McNamara, Ford's VP for cars and trucks. To him, cars were just appliances, meant to get people from point A to point B. He had already approved the Ford Falcon as a compact, but it wasn't enough. Ford needed a true subcompact, something to challenge the Beetle head-on. That's how Project Cardinal was born. This wasn't just a smaller Ford, it was a total game-changer. Front-wheel drive, a new V4 engine, and a bold statement: America could build small cars that rivaled Europe's best. Now here's where the Cardinal really shook things up. Unlike Ford's usual big, rear-wheel drive cars with massive V8s, this one flipped the script. It had a compact 1.2-liter V4 engine mounted sideways, powering the front wheels, a bold move in 1960s America, where bigger was king. This wasn't just about being different for the sake of it. That engine was a marvel of clever design. Instead of the typical 90-degree angle between cylinders, Ford engineers squeezed them into a narrow 60-degree V, adding a balance shaft to kill vibrations. The result? A smooth, compact powerhouse that set the stage for Ford's future V6 engines. But the real magic wasn't only under the hood. Thanks to mounting the engine transversely and driving the front wheels, the Cardinal managed to pack surprisingly spacious interiors into a small frame. It promised the roominess of a larger car with the nimbleness perfect for tight city streets and parking spots, a genuine breakthrough in both engineering and everyday practicality. By 1959, the Cardinal project was hitting full throttle at Ford. Early designs looked nothing like the tail-finned giants crowding American streets. Instead, they were sleek, modern, and downright futuristic. When Henry Ford II caught a glimpse during a studio visit, he was so impressed he sped up production from 1965 to 1963. But the Cardinal was more than just a new model. It was Ford's bold stab at a world car. The plan was simple but smart: build one car to sell everywhere. That way, Ford could split development costs and rake in profits across multiple markets. Over in Cologne, Ford Germany was busy working on their own compact. But Dearborn had other ideas. The message was clear: drop your projects and get ready to build the American-designed Cardinal for Europe. Everything seemed to be clicking into place. The engineering was solid, the design was cutting edge, and the global strategy made perfect sense. Production lines were gearing up, suppliers were locked in, and the press was buzzing. The Cardinal was set to roll out in 1962, with prototypes already hitting the test tracks. Then came the twist that turned the whole story on its head. In early 1961, Robert McNamara, the Cardinal's biggest cheerleader, left Ford to become Secretary of Defense under JFK. With him gone, the project lost its main advocate, and that vacuum at the top opened the door for a major change in direction. Enter Lee Iacocca, the rising star at Ford with a vision completely opposite to McNamara's. While McNamara treated cars like practical tools, Iacocca believed in flair, emotion, and what he liked to call personal vehicles. And when he looked at the Cardinal, all he saw was a boring, boxy little car better suited for someone's grandma. But Iacocca's rejection wasn't just personal taste. It was tactical. He had analysts dig into the numbers, and what they found wasn't pretty. The plan to import German-made engines left the project exposed to currency swings. If the exchange rate shifted the wrong way, the Cardinal could end up costing almost as much as the bigger, more profitable Falcon. And just to make matters worse, American buyers were starting to drift back to larger cars. The compact craze was fading. By early 1962, Lee Iacocca was ready to make his move. Armed with bleak financial forecasts and a strong gut feeling, he laid it all out for Henry Ford too. The Cardinal, he argued, wasn't just risky. It was a potential financial sinkhole. It would cannibalize sales from the already successful Falcon and might never turn a profit. On April 10, 1962, the hammer came down. Despite sinking around $35 million into development, an eye-watering sum back then, Ford officially pulled the plug on the American Cardinal, just months before it was supposed to hit showrooms. The news blindsided suppliers and stunned the auto world. But this wasn't just about dollars and cents. Killing the Cardinal sent a clear message. America wasn't ready for small, efficient cars with European DNA. The decision slammed the door shut on Ford's brief experiment with minimalist engineering and doubled down on Detroit's love affair with size, horsepower, and chrome. The dream of a front-wheel drive revolution in the USA, dead on arrival. Now, just when it looked like the Cardinal was destined for the scrap heap of forgotten prototypes, the story flipped. While Ford's top brass in America were busy toasting their decision to shut the whole thing down, Ford Germany was staring down a crisis of its own. Their existing Taunus P1 was aging out fast, and thanks to Dearborn's World Car vision, their own new car development had been completely scrapped in favor of the now-canceled Cardinal. In other words, they had no plan B. Enter John Andrews, the managing director of Ford Germany. He suddenly found himself in a unique and fortunate position, sitting on a fully engineered, nearly production-ready car that had just been tossed aside by its American creators. The tooling, done. Suppliers, contracted. Design, finalized. All it needed was a bit of fine-tuning for European roads and preferences. And that's when the Germans saw gold, where America saw scrap. The Cardinal wasn't too small. It was just right. Its front-wheel drive layout and compact V4 engine weren't weird. They were forward-thinking. Europe didn't reject the Cardinal. It embraced it. And just like that, the Cardinal was reborn, not in Detroit, but in Cologne. In September 1962, only a few months after its American execution, Ford Germany rolled out the Ford Taunus 12 MP4. What had been labeled a misfit in the US suddenly became a symbol of modern innovation in Europe. The transformation was swift and strategic. German engineers tweaked the suspension, gave the styling a sleeker local flavor, and tailored the car into multiple body types to match European tastes. What really made the P4 shine was its technical edge. This wasn't just another compact car, it was Ford's first front-wheel drive model in Europe. At a time when most competitors were sticking to rear-wheel drive, the P4 brought next-gen handling, better traction in wet conditions, and more cabin space thanks to its compact V4 engine layout. Ford Germany offered the Taunus P4 in an impressive range of variants: a two-door, a four-door, a practical Tournier station wagon, a sporty coupe, and even a convertible. It was versatile, forward-thinking, and above all, a huge hit. What Detroit discarded, Cologne made legendary. At the core of the Taunus P4's triumph was its revolutionary V4 engine, a compact marvel that ended up doing far more than anyone expected. The original 1.2-liter version, which produced 40 horsepower, soon evolved into a lineup that included 1.3, 1.5, and even 1.7-liter versions. With the top-tier engine pushing out 75 horsepower, the P4 wasn't just an economy car anymore. It had legitimate driving flair that could actually be fun on the road. But the V4's legacy didn't stop under the hood of the P4. Ford's bold little engine found new life in vehicles across Europe. Saab used it, Matra embraced it, and even the prototype Ford Mustang I concept car was powered by this same design. Over time, this V4 evolved into the base architecture for Ford's European V6 engines, meaning a concept Detroit discarded ended up reshaping Ford's future. The P4 drove like nothing else in its segment. That offbeat V4 growl? Instantly recognizable. The front-wheel drive setup? Game-changing. It handled better, gripped harder, and felt far ahead of its time. And the results spoke for themselves. The Taunus P4 was a commercial success, resonating deeply with European buyers who valued its compact size, fuel efficiency, and modern engineering. By the mid-1960s, it was clear that Ford Germany had turned what was once considered a failed American experiment into a European triumph. But what made the P4's story even more compelling wasn't just its sales figures or clever engineering. It was the ripple effect it triggered across the automotive world. This orphaned car had sparked an evolution, not only within Ford's European operations, but in how the company approached innovation, adaptability, and global collaboration. The P4 may have started as the abandoned Cardinal, but on the roads of Europe, it had become something far greater, a symbol of resilience, reinvention, and a quiet revolution in car design. Perhaps the most fascinating part of this story is the deep irony it reveals about innovation and perception. The very car that Ford America dismissed as too small, too strange, and too risky ended up thriving in Europe. The front-wheel drive technology that once seemed unsellable to American buyers in 1962 would, decades later, become the global standard, even in the US. The tale of the Cardinal-turned-Taunus P4 proves a powerful truth. In the auto industry, success isn't just about engineering brilliance. It's about timing, culture, and vision. What fails in one market might flourish in another. And sometimes all it takes is a fresh perspective to turn a dead end into a legacy. Today, the Ford Taunus P4 is hailed as a pioneer, a technical and cultural milestone that bridged continents. It's living proof that no good idea truly dies. It just waits for the right champion. So if this story fascinated you, drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and let us know in the comments. What other failed innovations do you think deserved a second chance? Because sometimes the underdogs make history.